Hello, Andrew. These are your carburetors. As you know, we didn't do any machine work to them, but we did the best we could otherwise. And as we mentioned when you brought them in, these were really worn out carburetors, and we did not expect them to do very well, but I'm surprised considering how the degree of wear on them. We're doing pretty well. We're going to do a couple of adjustments with the engine running, and I thought I would go over those first when it's quiet. Idle mixture screw. You screw this in until the engine stumbles, screw it out until it stumbles, and you get your midpoint. Do that for both carburetors when the engine is idling and with the linkage disconnected so that each carburetor is running independently. The other adjustments you get to make, of course, is for the idle, but that has limitations because of the wear in the butterflies. There's only so much you can reduce the idle. Another thing that is unique to these carburetors is what's called the G55 idle jet. There's one on each, well, there's two on each carburetor, right here, and those are what the car idles on. The carburetors only idle on the idle circuit, and that is controlled completely by this jet right here. So if the car when the car refuses to idle, the problem is right here, and this little jet is clogged. It has a little tiny orifice. In fact, I'll show it to you right now. It's not difficult at all to access or to take care of. That orifice, that's a 0.55 millimeter orifice, which is pretty darn teeny, and it's very easy for it to get clogged with fuel. So what we recommend is you get a can of B12 and spray it out, or blow that out, or put a wire through there real quick, and then clean out the inside down where the jet came out of. And your typical situation is dregs, crap inside your fuel tank being pulled into the carburetor. What you'll do is you'll find the car will have been driven on the highway for an extended period of time, and then you come off the highway, come up to a stoplight or stop sign, and the car dies. And what you've done is pulled some stuff off of the bottom of the tank. That's why we always recommend extra filtration of the fuel between the original fuel pump and the original fuel filter and the fuel pump. What else? Okay, we're going to, in addition to with the idle mixture screws, we're going to use this analog engine analyzer for getting the optimum RPM, which means we've got the best mixture. Mounting the carburetors, there is a particular sequence of spacers and wave washers for mounting the carburetors, and we'll go over that in person, but I want to make sure that you're aware of that. In addition to mounting the carburetors, you've obviously got to install your big air log. And what you want to do is mount the carburetors loosely so that you can wiggle them up and down. They've got a pretty good amount of wiggle room, so that you can then wiggle the carburetors and install your air log. You then come in and tighten up the carburetors to where they won't move. Pull the air log off, do the final tightening, and then put it back on and make sure that the air log fits, because otherwise, if you tighten them up just the way they sit on there, air log will not fit, and you'll really you'll have to undo everything and start all over. A great asset to install in the carburetors is a 1/4-inch drive wobble socket set, and you don't need anything stronger than a 1/4-inch drive to snug down the carburetors. They'll do just fine. You don't need the 3/8 or 1/2 inch, and the 1/4-inch drive gives you a whole bunch of room to work underneath there. Another thing you have to be aware of is you must stabilize this fuel fitting in the float bowl cover before you go wrenching on the swivel fitting on the fuel line. And just make sure you stabilize this one so you don't risk ripping it out of the float bowl cover. And starting your car, since we made all the adjustments, it'll start a little bit different than before, and it's also going to depend on the condition of your engine and also the condition of my engine. So starting, you'll have to practice starting your car and get an idea of what it takes to start it. Obviously, you've got your fuel filter, fuel pump with the priming lever on there. Make sure you're primed up with fuel. We'll do that right now. All right, I know we've got fuel, and let's see. Oh, that's right. It's going to go over the choke mechanism here. The choke, if you notice, when you move the choke lever, you're actually moving the throttle linkage. And this is designed so that when you choke the carburetor, you're increasing the throttle position. So so make sure that because you're working against all your throttle linkage and your pedal, you're also having to deal with the choke mechanism, which, as you know, the cable comes down straight like this, but the choke mechanism wants to come up at an arc, at an angle. And so that one little knob on the dash is pulling on a whole bunch of mechanical stuff, all the way from here through the throttle linkage to the pedal. So it's a tough pull. So make sure all your cables your choke cable is lubed up and everything is working as best as possible. Lube your ball joints with a little ATF. Trying to think what else. I guess that's it. Let's see if we see what it's going to take to start this thing. Usually, every car is a little bit different, but I usually try to give it like one pop of fuel, like that. Switch on. Oh, I forgot my starting cables. Hang on. Forgot my bump starter. All right, switch on. Let's try it without the choke. See what happens. All right, let's choke it. Now we can't do anything until we warm up the engine in terms of tuning, so that'll take a few minutes here. But you already tell it idles really nicely, but it's going to change as it warms up. What we're doing is waiting for some water temperature. Yeah, for some reason we just lost idle. What the heck happened here?